Anandakori Vaishnavini ki, Namachar Haridas Thakur ki, Nitya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Shri Gadhar Shri Vasudeva Gaura Bhakti Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Sam Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Vrindavan Dham Mayapur Dham New Dham Samadeva Bhakti ki. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Guru. All glories to Shri Guru. Naranam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraya. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagawatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supremmost human being, and unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nashtapreshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhaktim Bhavati Nastiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, whose praise with transcendental songs is established as an irrevocable fact. Jai Shri. So, today we're studying the third canto, chapter 7, Further Inquiries by Vidura, texts 1 and 2. Sorry, Adi, I'm starting the chapter. I beg your forgiveness if I've... And Kusha's doing much better. She's got a cast on. It will be on, well, it's actually a splint. And it's supposed to be on for a couple of days, and she's supposed to actually get a cast for 6 weeks. So we'll see what happens. Some people's faith in medicine is different than others. And, but she's doing much better. It's all secured at the moment. Shri Suguvacha Evam Bhuvanam Maitreyam Evam Bhuvanam Maitreyam Vaipanyana Suto Buddha Vaipanya Suto Buddha Vaipanyana Suto Buddha Riyanyan Eva Bharata Riyanyan Eva Bharatya Vidura Pradyabhastya Vidura Pradyabhasta Shri Suguvacha Evam Bhuvanam Maitreyam Vaipanyana Suto Buddha Vinayaniva Bharatya Vidura Bharata Shri Suguvacha Evam Rinanam Nivavaratya Vidura Pratyabhasata. Please chant.
Shri Sukukuvacha
Shri Sukuvacha
Evam Brahmanam Maitreyam
Evam Bhuvanam Maitreyam
Vaipayana Suto Buddha
Vaipayana Suto Buddha
Vinayam Nivaparatya
Vinayam Nivavaratya
Vidura Pratyabhasata
Vidura Pratyabhasata Evam Bhuvanam Maitreyam Vaipayana Suto Buddha Vinayam Nivavaratya Vidura Pratyabhasata
Evam Bhuvanam Maitreyam
Evam Bhuvanam Maitreyam
Vaipayana Suto Buddha
Vaipayana Suto Buddha
Vinayam Nivaparatya
Vinayam Nivavaratya
Vidura Pratyabhasata
Vidura Pratyabhasata
Shri Sukuvacha
Shri Sukuvacha
Evam Brahmanam Maitreyam
Evam Bhuvanam Maitreyam
Vaipayana Suto Buddha
Vaipayana Suto Buddha
Vinayam Nivaparatya
Vinayam Nivavaratya
Vidura Pratyabhasata
Vidura Pratyabhasata
Shri Sukuvacha
Shri Sukuvacha
Evam Brahmanam Maitreyam
Evam Bhuvanam Maitreyam
Vaipayana Suto Buddha
Vaipayana Suto Buddha
Vinayam Nivaparatya
Vinayam Nivavaratya
Vidura Pratyabhasata
Vidura Pratyabhasata Shri Sukuvacha
Shri Sukuvacha
Shri Sukadeva Goswami said
Swami said
Evam
Evam
thus
thus
Bhuvanam
Bhuvanam
speaking
speaking
Maitreyam
Maitreyam
unto the sage Maitreya Dvaipana Sutta the son of Dvaipana Buddha learned Pranayan in a pleasing manner Eva as it was Bharata in the matter of a request Vidura Pratyabhasata expressed. Shri Sukadeva Goswami said, O king, while Maitreya, the great sage, was thus speaking, Vidura, the learned son of Dvaipana, Vyas, expressed a request in a pleasing manner by asking this question. Please repeat. Shri Sukadeva Goswami said, O king, while Maitreya, the great sage was thus speaking, Vidura, the learned son of Dvaipana Vyas, expressed a request in a pleasing manner by asking this question. There's no purport, so we're going on to verse 2. Viduruvacha Brahman Katam Bhagavatas Chinmantrasyas Vikarinaha Lilaya Tapiyu Yeram Nirgunasya Gunapriyaha. And the translation, Sri Vidura said, O great Brahman, since the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the complete spiritual whole and is unchangeable, how is he connected with the material modes of nature and their activities? If this is his pastime, how do the activities of the unchangeable take place and exhibit qualities without the modes of nature? And so, please repeat. Sri Vidura said, O great Brahmana, since the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the complete spiritual whole, and is unchangeable, how is he connected with the material modes of nature and their activities? If this is his pastime, how do the activities of the unchangeable take place? And exhibit qualities without the modes of nature. Purport by Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Nice long purport too. As described in the previous chapter, the difference between the Supersoul, the Supreme Lord, and the living entities is that the activities of the Lord in creating the cosmic manifestation are performed by the Lord through the agency of his multifarious energies. But this manifestation is bewildering to the living entities. The Lord is therefore the master of the energies, whereas the living entities are subjugated by them. By asking various questions about transcendental activities, Vidura is clearing the misconception that when the Lord either descends on the earth in his incarnation or appears himself with all his potencies, he too is subjected to the influence of Maya, just like an ordinary living entity. This is generally the calculation of less intelligent philosophers, who consider the position of the Lord and that of the living entities to be on the same level. Vidura is hearing the great sage Maitreya refute these arguments. The Lord is described in this verse as Chinmatra, or completely spiritual. The personality of Godhead has unlimited potencies to create and manifest many wonderful things, both temporary and permanent. Because this material world is the creation of his external energy, it thus appears to be temporary. It is manifested at certain intervals, maintained for some time, and again dissolved and conserved in his own energy. As described in Bhagavad Gita 8:19, Bhutva Praliyate. But the creation of his internal potency, the spiritual world, is not a temporary manifestation like the material world, but is eternal and full of transcendental knowledge, opulence, energy, strength, beauties, and glories. Such manifestations of the Lord's potencies are eternal and are therefore called nirguna, or free from all tinges of the modes of material nature, even up to the mode of material goodness. The spiritual world is transcendental even to material goodness, and thus is unchangeable. Since the Supreme Lord of such eternal and unchangeable qualities is never subjugated by anything like material influence, how can his activities and forms be conceived to be under the influence of illusory Maya, as is the case with the living entities? A juggler or magician displays many wonders with his acts and arts. He can become a cow by his magical tactics, and yet he is not that cow. But at the same time, the cow displayed by the magician is not different from him. Similarly, the material potency is not different from the Lord because it is an emanation from him. But at the same time, that manifestation of potency is not the Supreme Lord. The Lord's transcendental knowledge and potency always remains the same. They do not change, even when displayed in the material world. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord descends on the earth by his own internal potency, and therefore there is no question of his becoming materially contaminated, changed, or otherwise affected by the modes of material nature. The Lord is Saguna, by his own internal potency, but at the same time, he is nirguna, since he is not in touch with the material energy. The restrictions of the prison house are applicable to the prisoners who are condemned by the king's law. But the king is never affected by such implications. Although he may visit the prison house out of his goodwill, in the Vishnu Puranas, the 6 opulences of the Lord are stated to be non-different from him. The opulences of transcendental knowledge, strength, opulence, potency, beauty, renunciation are all identical with the personality of Godhead. When he personally displays such opulences in the material world, they have no connection with the modes of material nature. The very word, Chinmantrava, is the guarantee that the Lord's activities are always transcendental, even when displayed in the material world. His activities are as good as the Supreme Personality himself. Otherwise, liberated devotees like Sukadeva Goswami would not have been attracted by them. Vidura inquired how the Lord's activities can be in the mode of material nature, as is sometimes miscalculated by persons with a poor fund of knowledge. The inebriety of the material qualities is due to the difference between the material body and the spirit soul. The conditioned soul's activities are displayed through the medium of the modes of material nature and are therefore perverted in appearance. However, the Lord's body and the Lord himself are one and the same. And when the Lord's activities are displayed, they are certainly non-different from the Lord in all respects. The conclusion is that the persons who consider the Lord's activities material are certainly mistaken. Om Ganatirantasya Janantana Salakaya Japun Militanyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sapitam Yena Putale Swayam Rupa Tadamayam Tadanti Svakamantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yudhavaramam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sadvatutam Parijana Sagitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishika Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagapate Ubisa Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Purange Radhe Vindavishre Vishapanu Sade Devi Pranamami Harikre Vanshakapatribhyascha Kripa Sindhu Devcha Patitanam Bhavadevyo Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasudeva Gaur Bhakta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Sri Vidura said, O great Brahmana, since the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the complete spiritual whole and is unchangeable, how is he connected with the material modes of nature and their activities? If this is his pastime, how do the activities of the unchangeable take place and exhibit qualities without the modes of nature? So, we have some questions from Vidura. And in a priyana, in a pleasing manner. Srimad Bhagavatam is built on questions and answers to give us the understandings, to understand who is this great Krishna. And the special quality about these questions is that they're pleasing. And that this pleasingness is pleasing for the questioner and the person answering the question. It creates a very beautiful atmosphere that brings Krishna into the midst. So the cosmic manifestation is performed by the Lord through his agencies of multifarious energies. And so that it's explained in the previous chapter, there's Krishna and there's Krishna's energies. And there's nothing else. So there's Krishna and his energies, and we're part of part and parcels of Krishna. And how Krishna moves the material and spiritual energies. These are the two questions here. One is that Krishna, Brahman, spiritual, is unchangeable. Anything to do with spirit is unchangeable. And anything to do with material is always changing. And we all experience that. We don't experience the spiritual because we're so much engrossed in our material association. But as we associate more and more with the spiritual, we understand the transcendental and unchangeable nature of Brahman. So how is Krishna connected to these three modes, the three modes of nature? And are his activities connected? And what Vidura is helping to do here is build the strong philosophical foundation, the groundwork, so we can have a very clear understanding of who Krishna is. Because in the later chapters, there's going to be so many incarnations of Krishna. And all his incarnations are similar in that they are unchangeable. And they're Satchidananda Vigraha. And so we have to understand that the Lord's activities, his appearance and activities are very different from ours. Janma karma divya. So otherwise, we're just sentimentalists who believe in mythology. Have you heard that? Sometimes they call the philosophy, they call the Mahabharata, they call the Srimad Bhagawatam mythology, but it's not. And unless we have the firm understanding of who Krishna is, we can become confused and actually easily become impersonalists. So the distinction between the living entities and the Supreme Personality of Godhead is that we are the marginal energy, and the Supreme Lord, he is the one who creates the energies. And he creates energies that can create other energies. And whereas we have some power, we have some little bit of power over the material energy, but it doesn't go anywhere near that far. For example, there's some wonderful people who created computers. Amazing. They created watches. They created airplanes that fly. But those things cannot recreate themselves. They don't have little baby watches. But whereas the Lord has created this whole wonderful universe, so we can keep on going, keep on maintaining. We have no ability to do anything like that. He is, and furthermore, we are easily bewildered by his energies and by his powers. But he is never affected. He's never affected by that. So by asking these transcendental questions about the Lord's incarnations, appearance, either by his expansions or his personal incarnations, we can understand something about the nature of the Lord. But for those who can't, the Bhagavad Gita explains in 9:11, Avijanti madbudha manusim tanu arishtam parambhavam ajantanto mama bhutam maheshvaram. Fools, Prabhupada would say, fools and rascals deride me when I descend in the human form. They do not know my transcendental nature as the Supreme Lord of all that be. Brahman becomes covered by Maya. That's what the impersonalists say. They say Krishna is just some elevated form of Maya. So the devotee asks the impersonalists, they say, so if Krishna is, if we're God and we're covered by Maya, how is that possible that that which exists is covered by that which doesn't exist? How is that possible? I am God. How is something that doesn't exist cover me? So these are fools and rascals in their philosophy. But Krishna explains further in the Bhagavad Gita, the Vanatu Mamparda Daivim Prakrityamashvitaha Bhajanti Anaya Manasur Yantva Bhutantim Anayam. O son, preach to those who are not deluded by the great souls, who are under the protection of the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of God and original and inexhaustible. So Vidura is hearing Maitreya refute those arguments and establish Chin Mantra, completely spiritual, the completely spiritual essence of the Lord. And the Lord manifests both material and the spiritual wonderful things. And everything we have in contact with us is showing the temporary nature. But it's explained in Bhutva Bhutva Praliyate. Again and again, when Brahma's day arrives and the living entities come into being, and with the arrival of Brahma's night, they are helplessly annihilated. So it's through these great acharyas that we are given visions into the spiritual sky and given understanding unto the nature of the Supreme Lord, who is not temporary. And there's no planned obsolescence in the spiritual. In the material, we were talking about this yesterday, how everything you buy now has an expiration date. Not just of fruit and vegetables, but actually, like computers and everything. Oh, goodness, we don't. And so, computers and everything that we get, it's got some planned obsolescence, and that's really kind of frustrating because it's expensive and it's annoying. But anyway, but the Lord, His qualities, He's got these transcendental qualities that are full of transcendental knowledge. He's got wealth, unlimited amounts of wealth. And you know, we're so attracted to personalities who have these things, right? Like just recently, I guess there's like these 3 billionaires, which is beyond wealth to me. I can't imagine billions of dollars in the bank. But so what are they doing with their money? They're spending billions of dollars to go up into space for like 5 minutes to experience weightlessness. It's so absurd. Such a waste when really the earth is in so much difficulty. It needs help. And they're wasting money trying to enjoy this very temporary thing. And then beauty, you know, people are so attracted by beautiful people. You go into the market, you're waiting in line, there's all these magazines about these beautiful, truly the beautiful people. So in the market, you have so many magazines dedicated to beautiful people. And that beauty is so temporary. It really is a sad situation because these people become so attached to their beauty, but it's fleeting. You can only do so much cosmetic surgery or injections or creams and lotions. There's only so much you can do, and then it becomes absurd, right? And strength. Right now, I guess the Olympics are going on. I've heard from different people some of the amazing things that are happening. And there was this one race I heard about where the woman, she was pacing herself, and they're all going in a group. And all of a sudden, she broke out. She was going so fast ahead of everyone else. She got way ahead of everybody else. She crossed the finish line and collapsed. And her body was completely depleted. She needed to be carried off the field. She was dehydrated, so many problems. But compared to the Supreme Lord, He runs faster than the fastest. And He doesn't even have to leave His abode. So His powers are so much greater than anything we have any experience of. What to say of the knowledge and the fame? Who knows about God? You know, everybody knows God. They may not believe in God, but they sure know what God means. So And the ultimate is his powers of renunciation. Even though he has all this, he's not attached to any of it. So he is nirguna. His qualities are nirguna. They're completely free from the modes of material nature. And this juggler, this is a new thing maybe. Like we had the frog and the whale last chapter. Now maybe we have the juggler. This will be interesting. And he gives two different meanings to juggler. He gives the ones for the word jugglers. And that when Srila Prabhupada came out with his Bhagavad Gita, it was because there were think of it, if you were to write a book and there was already 600 different versions of that book, you'd probably think twice about that. But Srila Prabhupada had no second thoughts. He knew he had to write the Bhagavad Gita because the early devotees, they were using a Bhagavad Gita for the Sanskrit and translation, but Prabhupada told them, don't read the purports. But then he started getting questions, and they were asking questions. Prabhupada understood they were reading the purports and getting confused. So it's important that, that these books are here. So the material potencies are non-different than the Lord because they're an emanation from Him. At the same time, they're not Him. So not only are the philosophers jugglers, but Krishna outdoes the jugglery. He's the greatest juggler. So he's also Sagun. So Sagun means he's got spiritual potency, internal potency. His potency is all spiritual. And the example of the king going into the prison house. This is such a wonderful example. The Lord, He even appeared in a prison house, right? He appeared in this, his parents were shackled by iron chains, and He appeared. And when He appeared, He also displayed His beautiful forearm form, and they're like, oh no, don't show that. Moms will for sure kill that. But because they had the protective nature, they were not thinking Kamsa was more powerful, but they were just feeling protected towards Krishna, which he loves that mood in the devotees where they try to protect him like a little child who tries to help his mother get up. It's so sweet, so enduring. But Krishna, He told them, don't worry. No, we're going to leave here, and the guards are all going to be asleep. The chains are going to be open. The doors, all locks, are all going to be open. We're just going to walk on out. This is Krishna's. He's got the power. He's in charge of all this. So He has all this potency. And He's the Chin Mantra. There's no contact with these modes of material nature. They don't affect Him in any way. So it's similar for us. It's that we associate with these sound vibrations, with the holy name, with the Srimad Bhagavatam, with other devotees, with Krishna's pastimes. And then it's like the example of the iron rod. The rod's in the fire. The more we associate with these potencies, the more the rod gets hot and hotter and hotter. And it gets to be exactly like the fire. So if you take that rod out of the fire and touch it to anything, it catches on fire. So that's what our desire is to consume ourselves with the sound vibrations of spiritual sound vibrations and spiritual association. And then this will put us in touch with the spiritual potency. So I guess we'll end here if we have any questions or comments. Yes,
You mentioned that a lot of scientists consider the myth of the Vedas and that type of thing, the Mahabharata, et cetera, et cetera. But now they say they have GPS tracking from outer space, and they saw part of the bridge that was built, by Hanuman right there, and still underneath the water. And they found parts of the city of Dwarka and stuff that verified that these existence and things were in fact true.
Yeah, that's wonderful, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes, there are some little glimpses here and there. I think there was some there too, that where Dwarka was discovered in the water.
Yes,
Or remains, Dwarka. And also they discovered where the Kurukshetra battle was. An immense amount of bones and things. So, yeah, there is some little, but people, sometimes they just don't want to And so then they just have to take prasada.
And chant Hare Krishna,
Yeah,
your life will be successful.
Yeah. Jai. Any other question? Jai, our glory strike, dear Divine Father, Srila Prabhupada. Sadhya Vijita Chandra Daika Jive Tele Gisaya Sakare Tamade Sayati Lobamaya Srimati Take Jeta Godhika Samsare Krishna Pandaramu